So there was a turning point. So you're working in the police. You've got a girlfriend, and there's a turning point. And so what happened? What made you change? What happened?
So when my relationship ended, that's when I thought, right, I need to do something drastic here, or I'm just going to be like this forever.
Yeah.
Because I could not see a way out of it. And my brother, who we were chatting about earlier, he's always been my hero, and he's this big kind of traveler, adventurer. He's been around the world and he traveled, and I'd always wanted to kind of do that, but I never really had the courage to go and do it on my own like he did.
Yes, yeah.
And he's the one who suggested, he said, well, why don't you go traveling? He said, you've got nothing to lose now. Why don't you just go away and see a bit of the world?
Yes, yeah.
And he said, I promise you it will change your life. You'll love it. So after he told me that, I thought, right, well, I'll go traveling. And then 2 weeks later, I had my 2-year checkup at hospital, which is, as you know, is quite a pivotal moment, 2 years. And I was in my hospital waiting room, and I was giving my seat up for people that I could see needed more than I did. And I stood for the best part of an hour just watching people come and go, waiting for my appointment. And I thought,
you must have had so much anxiety. You must have been.
I thought, how great would it be if I could take these people with me on this trip and show them that you can kind of go through all this and still just live a normal life, and that there is a life after cancer.
Yeah.
So that, in there I thought, I wanted to be a positive place. I didn't want to use any negative terminology like victim or sufferer, or I never liked being thought of that. And my brother was the inspiration behind that, because he never treated me as a victim. It was he always said, when you're better, you should do this. When you're better, you should go and do this. And he never went, we never talked about the negative side. And at the time, sometimes it was quite annoying, because sometimes you just want to kind of wallow in what you're going through. But he would never let me do that. So the name we came up with, 101 Things to Do When You Survive, kind of an anti-bucket list. So things to look forward to doing when you're better, rather than before you die.
Yes.
Or I didn't want to use any of that. And I sat down and wrote a list, which was only 45 things long. I couldn't even think of 101 things.
Yeah.
I just thought that sounds like a snazzy name. Quite catchy.
46 things to do when you survive is not as
it
good.
sounds rubbish, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I just wrote this list, and I moved out of my flat, sold my things. I moved in with my brother and his wife for the best part of a year, and started saving for this trip. And I was convinced that the trip was going to be what made me happy. Machu Picchu, tick, that'll make me happy. Galapagos Islands, tick, that'll make me happy. But what happened was, in that year that I was saving for this trip and planning it, that's when I started to feel better. I suddenly, after a few months, I started to sleep again. My skin cleared up, my head cleared up, the psoriasis, and I started to feel like my old self. And I hadn't gone anywhere. I hadn't left the country, I hadn't done anything. And it was only later that I discovered the kind of science behind that, whereby when you visualize yourself succeeding in something or doing something, it releases that bit of feel-good dopamine in the brain, which gives you that feel-good feeling, and it can be one of the first steps in alleviating anxiety or depression. So everything I wanted from the website was happening to me in that year. Because when I was thinking and designing the website, I thought, I'd think about someone having chemotherapy or have just recovering from an operation, sitting in a hospital bed, and if they could see one of the pictures or somewhere I've been or seen my story, and if for just 10 seconds of their day felt excited about the future instead of fearing it, then that's what it was all about. So it was about getting people seeing past that and visualizing being well and doing things and enjoying life again. And the great thing was, just by kind of changing my mindset, I discovered that happiness again. So I never wanted people to feel like you have to travel the world to feel happy, because that's not the case at all. And as we were discussing earlier about the little things that we do are just the best things in life, and things we take for granted. And we were talking about how for a moment all we ever wanted was to be well.
Yes.
And just enjoying that, being able to get out of bed in the morning or go for a walk, enjoy the blue sky without having that worry and thinking about things that have happened in the past. because the present moment is such a wonderful thing. But when your present is not great, then it's great to visualize a happy future and seeing past that. And that's the wonderful thing about the mind. The mind is so powerful, which can be negative and positive.
Yes. Yeah.
But your mind can't distinguish between reality and thought. So if you visualize yourself at Machu Picchu, it sends that signal into your body that you're in Machu Picchu, and that gives you that feel-good feeling again. So visualization was something that I used during my treatment as well, and after my operation specifically, because I was in a lot of pain when they joined me back together. I used to visualize little miners with hats on and axes, kind of rebuilding my bowel.
Okay.
I know, it sounds...
Like the borrowers?
Yeah, like the borrowers.
Right, okay, great.
It's more like the Poddington peas.
Oh, right. Just going to work.
But just going to work and fixing it and, visualizing the chemo destroying all the good cells, the bad cells in my body.
Yeah.
And that can really promote, their physical well-being as well as mental. So
I love that I've just mocked you, and I realised that I make a habit of calling my stem cells like Oompa Loompas. That they, I realise I'm just mocking myself, really, aren't I?
Have you told anyone else that?
Yeah, far too many people, really. That's it. Yeah.
And now everyone here knows.
But it's and you touched on it a little bit earlier, and I just wanted to touch on. So you talked about mindfulness and things, and has that become part of your, do you still look at that as part of your kind of process, day-to-day process?
Yeah, definitely. I think mindfulness and gratitude, which can go hand in hand.
Yes.
They've become daily practices from the moment I wake up to the moment I close my eyes at night. It's so important just to recognize that right now in this moment we're well, and if we're thinking too far ahead, I don't know what will happen to me in the future. Will it come back? Will it not? But right now I'm okay, and and practicing gratitude for the little things, even coming into London on the train and looking at the sunshine and just walking down Carnaby Street and all these. It's things that we can all take for granted, and this present moment is such a wonderful thing that I try and acknowledge it. And don't get me wrong, I totally it takes work to do that, because I do. If I'm feeling tired, I wonder why, and I start to think, okay, and I have to go through this whole process. What did I eat last night? How much sleep did I get, to try and figure out, okay, that's probably why I feel tired.
Yes.
Or if I feel a niggle, what's that? And then I bring my mind back. So it's something that I'm not a professional in whatsoever, but I'm really kind of working towards achieving that. And
but even a professional would have those moments, and that's the thing to acknowledge, is that's part of it. Right. Is that those things do crop up into our minds, and they are as much like our mind will go places sometimes. But it's the wonderful thing that you're talking about is having the toolkit in place to go actually putting yourself back to the present moment, and what is it, and it seems like you've found some things that are the ways that help you do that, which is incredible.
I think that's it. It's before it would just consume my mind, and I could not think about anything else, and now when it does come into my head, I can turn it round quite quickly. So it's always there. I don't think you ever get rid of it. It's definitely something you can deal with.
Yes.
And people talk about being cured of PTSD. And it's like, well, sometimes, just to acknowledge that, okay, there's a bit of anxiety there, and that might never go away, but I know how to deal with that now. That can be quite, reassuring as well, to know that there is a way of coping. And that's what I wanted to with the website and 101 Things to Do When You Survive, was to first, raise awareness about the psychological issues that come with cancer. And as I said, it was that period was worse than what I'd been through, treatment and operations. Yeah. Did you find that as well?
Definitely, yeah. I've been recently describing it as the other side of a hurricane. Right. And that a hurricane I've been going on about this, haven't I? No, it's fine. But it's like when you're having your treatment and things, that you're thrown around and you don't really know what's happening, and then you kind of get thrown out, and you're still kind of spinning for a long, long time, because you don't really know how to put your feet forward and anything like that. And I had this moment where I stood still, and I had a very present moment of going, I'm still, and I could like know that hurricane was there. Struggled a lot to look at it though, because I didn't want to acknowledge that I'd been in this hurricane, that this thing had happened. And actually those next, how to walk forward is very difficult. And I think one of the most important things for me was being able to look over my shoulder, and being able to acknowledge that, like, I've had cancer, I had Hodgkin's, it's part of me, it's not all of me, and that's a really important part. And it seems but it's important to notice it's the same with anxiety. Like, anxiety is part of my life, but it's not going to be everything. It's not. I'm rumbling tummy. I've just realised that. I'm hungry. That's part of my life as well.
But it's interesting what you say about the hurricane, because the analogy that I use, what it's like surviving cancer, is that I imagine it's a lot like climbing Mount Everest.
Right.
You use all your determination, all your strength to get to the top of this mountain, and then suddenly at the top of this mountain, and all your support is taken away, your ropes, your Sherpas. And that's how I felt when I'd survived it. I was on the top of Mount Everest and I didn't know how to get down.
Yeah.
And I kind of just plummeted down instead of making my way down. But that's it. I think people forget that, because when you're being treated, you're always proactively doing something, and you're being looked at by doctors, nurses, family members, want to see if you're okay. And when you're told you're better, they kind of think, oh, they're better now.
Yeah.
You know, they don't need as much support, and I think that's when you need the most support.
Totally, yeah.
And my family have been amazing, and you know, I would not be here without them. But it's been such a learning curve for them with the psychological issues. For example, when I told my dad I was going to leave my job and go traveling the world for 2 years, he was, no son, pension, you've got your job's your life. You know, he was so quite. And then what I did was wrote kind of a business plan, and explaining how I felt on a daily basis, what I hope to achieve with 101 things, and how to help people. And it was then he understood, and he kind of got it then.
But I am going to ask about some of the bigger things that you've done. I need to know, and you must get these questions all the time. But what's been some of the favourite spots? I've
seen so many wonderful things, from Torres del Paine, which I know you've been to as well, in Chile and in Patagonia. But I just saw the most incredible things. The Galapagos Islands were amazing. Yellowstone, Yosemite Park, just all Central and South America, actually, going through there, from Ecuador, going through Peru and Machu Picchu to the Bolivian salt flats, Rio de Janeiro.
Wow.
Just
singing.
Yes, one of the things on my list was to sing on stage at Sydney Opera House. And when I told my friends this, they said, right, 1, it's Sydney Opera House, and 2, you can't sing.
Yeah.
But the plan was to sing on stage there. And I did it. I sang on stage at Sydney Opera House, and I also did it on national television in Australia, which I know you've watched the video now.
It's wonderful.
It was a terrible rendition of Flower of Scotland. So I'm originally from Scotland, and sporting the worst Movember tash you've ever seen, wearing a kilt, and I had 3 bagpipers with me, just bellowing out.
They didn't just go with you around the whole place. They were just for that, weren't they? It's not like you. All your travels, you've had 3 bagpipers.
No, it was me taking selfies. Going, here I am here.
Yeah.
But no, that was they managed to help that come true, which was incredible, because it's a wonderful thing to do anyway. But the best thing about it is that anyone else going through depression, anxiety, or any other mental health issue could see someone who's been through all that, and who at one point in their life didn't want to leave the house, didn't want to socialize with people, sing on stage at Sydney Opera House. Hopefully they're sitting there going, wow, the possibilities are endless, and maybe I'll do that, but maybe tomorrow I'll go out the house, maybe I'll venture further, or I'll do these things. And that's what it was all about, because if I can do those sort of things, and I think everyone can. And I was still in remission when I went traveling around the world, and I was petrified. It was one of the scariest things I'd ever done. Of course, you don't volunteer to have cancer, but people were telling me, you're so brave, you're so this. I wasn't. I just, like everyone, I'd get my head down and try to get on with it. But volunteering to go traveling around the world when you're not really a traveler or adventurer, I was so scared. I'd set off with my one kidney, half a bowel, issues with my heart. I had scoliosis, all these things. I had a bag full of warfarin. I take blood thinning medication, vitamin K syringes, and I set off and I didn't know what was going to happen.
I can't imagine your insurance.
On paper, I sound like a medical nightmare.
Yes, you do.
And I wanted to, just when I have to write down my medical history, it's, oh my goodness, it's
a novel.
But I wanted to show people that just, you're not defined by your illnesses or your conditions. I feel like I'm healthier than a lot of people I know. But these things, insurance companies can look at them and go, "Oh, he's a bit of a liability," or "He takes warfarin, he's had cancer in the past," all these things. And I searched various insurance companies, and I was being quoted a couple of grand for 6 months travel, which wasn't including the United States either.
Yeah.
And then I found an insurance company called insurancewith.com.
I was with them.
Were you?
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, great. So you guys will know all about them. But I read the story behind Insurance With about Fiona, who created it, and she'd had breast cancer, and she found when she was going through chemotherapy, she couldn't get insurance to go on holiday. And I think when you're unwell, that's when you need to go on holiday the most. I saw the effects of going away, being in the sunshine, and alleviating any stress from my life. I mean, the effects on you physically and mentally are there's nothing that compares to it. So then when she was better, she set up this insurance company that specializes in giving insurance to people with pre-existing medical conditions. And when I spoke to them, and I was quoted, I think it was £612 for the year, including the United States, covering all my conditions.
Wow.
It's unbelievable.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, that's still a lot of money compared to my friends who charge £13 or whatever, but we're a different
Yes, yeah.
So, but yeah, it was just incredible that existed, and I was so grateful for that.